Hey guys, welcome back to the Betar Project. I'm your host, Nick Betar. Today we have Jaxon Tippet, my man. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks, Nick. I appreciate it, man. Been viewing your podcast for a bit now, and yeah, stoked to actually come on another one. Obviously, I got one myself, but it's always good being, the guest on somebody else's.
Brother, I'm super grateful for you for coming on. Let's start off. What's something you're grateful for today?
I'm grateful just for my health, mainly my health, um, my family, and just have a roof over my head. I know that sound like three simple things, but without those, man, I don't think you really have a life. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
just probably those things.
yeah, exactly, man. Sometimes you just got to be grateful for the most simple things in life because they're actually the most important things.
100%, man.
Dude,
What about yourself?
me, fuck. I'm grateful that I'm able to sit here and talk to people like yourself. Like I did a podcast earlier and, being able to obviously help that person who's coming on my podcast and telling their story because some of the stories, it takes a lot of courage to come out and actually talk about certain topics. And then obviously
Yeah.
the people that listen to it are going to get immense value from it as well. So I'm grateful that I'm able to do this every week.
Yeah, man, I love it. Hey, there's nothing more rewarding than getting like great feedback that you've helped someone or someone's really taken your podcast on board.
Exactly. On that, what's some of the best messages you've received from people?
Um, oh man, I've had a ton, eh? I like the ones due to like surrounding mental health. I've had a few people. I did one where a guy was. I've done a few actually. Rehabilitation. They wanted to commit suicide, drug addiction, and then I've had obviously people listen to it, and then I had some messages. I can't remember exactly how it was worded, but basically they were about to commit literally about to commit suicide, or that they were on the brink of it, and after listening to the episode, it changed their whole mindset, and they would just never look at that situation again. So that was pretty like life touching.
Yeah, fucking makes you feel good, eh? Like you're doing something right in
Yeah,
this world.
like because like I know it doesn't like it just sounds like that, but at the end of the day, man, that's pretty much what it sounds like. Is you've probably just saved someone's life, like literally. So it's pretty crazy.
I had a good one where I did an episode with this guy and he was going to commit suicide and that. And his mum messaged me because she listened to it and she's like, "Thank you
Oh
so
wow.
much. Like, this is the first time he's really opened up and I really appreciate it. You're doing great things." And that I'm like, fuck. And like
Man, that's
she all
awesome.
opened up to me and was telling her life story and stuff. I was like, wow, okay. I feel really good, like that I've been able to help you and stuff.
Yeah, wow, that's crazy. I've never had a mum like, you know what I mean, reach out like that, but that's really cool.
Yes, such a fulfilling feeling, knowing that you're having an impact.
Yeah.
And I guess that's
Who's
why we
the
do it, eh?
100%? Who's your what's the most heart touching guest you've had on board or story?
Oof, I've had a few, man, and I got one that's got to record, but I guess they're all mainly around mental health, like the real touching ones. As I mentioned to you
Yeah.
before, today's one, like what she went through, um, you know, being abused for 3 hours, physically abused too, like that's fucking traumatizing. And for someone to go through that, you can't fathom
Yeah.
that someone would be able to do that to someone else.
Yeah, but even in saying that, I know she spoke out about that, but man, I bet you there's so many people suffering that right now that don't actually speak about it. Do you know what I mean? They're just hiding it behind the scenes.
Exactly. That's fucking true,
So
man.
I hope, yeah, man, I even hear it myself, but that's just the people that have the confidence to speak out. Do you know what I mean? Like maybe they're scared that, the guy, the husband or whoever it is that's actually abusing them might hear it, or and it will get worse, or you never know. That's why a lot of these people don't speak out.
Yeah, which is why
Yeah.
like I'm so grateful for the chick that came on today because it might help someone in a domestic violence relationship that goes, you know what, fuck, I need to build some courage here. If she can do it, why can't I? And get out of this relationship before it gets worse.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dude, so I guess we'll kind of jump in about today's topic. So for all the listeners out there, Jackson's had a bit of experience in, I guess, the drugs and steroids. Do you want to kind of give a bit of context on that?
Yeah, man. So obviously it's a very, very broad topic, and a lot of information to talk about. But like, I'll keep it short. Obviously, started out into the fitness scene, got into the gym basically just because my peers were in it, and it was the cool thing to do. And then it kind of just grew into an addiction where I was actually getting some results, and I was like, you know what I mean. At the end of the day, when anyone gets results for their body in a positive way, um, I don't think there's any better feeling. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was just like, whether that's getting lean, whether that's how you feel, whatever it may be, I kind of had it all, man. I was feeling better. I was looking better. I was looking younger. And I was just like, this is just, crazy. Like, I'm addicted. And then, it kind of just grew into an obsession. And once you start to get really, really into it and the gym scene and, you're in and out and all that kind of stuff, obviously you hear about the steroids and you hear about that brought up, and it's always going to come in sometime in the fitness scene. You're always going to hear about it. A lot of people don't talk about it. I don't know why, because I'll tell you straight up now, probably eight out of 10 people in your gym that train hard are on steroids. So it's and then it's like talked about, as this secret, or nobody does it, or everyone's natural, which is absolutely bullshit. So I obviously got just I was just like, I was getting results. I think I hit a plateau, which means like your results don't progress anymore, and people around me were just like, why don't you try a little bit of this, or why don't you do this, and it'll help you more. And it's just, you just try it, you jump on the bandwagon, and one thing leads to another, and you're on a full-blown cycle. And then it's the most challenging part after that is it's trying to get off. That's what people don't understand.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like any drug. So this is where people don't understand. Yeah, if you could just do one cycle and you'd never touch it again, man, it's virtually going to do nothing to you. And I can physically say that. But it's like being an ice addict, or being addicted to heroin. You want that fix. So you just can't get off unless you're that strong-minded, because obviously it feels better being on than being off. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, once I was on, man, and my gains and my progress was doubling. As soon as you get off, and then your sex drive goes down, your libido, you flatten out a bit, you feel moody, you feel foggy in the head. What do you want to do? You just want to get back on. So that's just where the cycle becomes an addiction, and it just leads from one thing to another.
If you don't mind me asking, what were you taking?
To be honest, I've used a lot of stuff. Man, it just ranges. Do you want me to go into depth, or?
If you want, like, I'm curious
Yeah.
for myself too.
Yeah. So basically, I think you always just start out with your testosterone base, because that's your male base, and that's what most people use to start out with. And it's what you have to use pretty much, because if you use like another compound without testosterone, you're pretty much going to shut down your natural system and have all sorts of problems with getting a hard on and stuff like that. So always a testosterone base. That's all I started out with, to be honest. But then obviously one thing grew to another, and yeah, man, I tried a lot of stuff. Hey, like, I used virtually, your decas when you're in off season, trenbolone when you cut in, but then all your orals like Anavar, Stanozol. I never touched growth hormone, never would. Never touched insulin, never would. They're kind of the two that are like the next level, in my opinion. Like,
Yeah.
you don't need them either. Like, I'm just talking from a standpoint, I don't think you actually need them to create a good physique. And I actually think it ruins your physique, if that makes sense. I think it, as you see with the current generation of, bodybuilders, Olympians, they look, they look freaky, but I don't think they look good. Yeah, like for example, let's just put Arnold Schwarzenegger next to the past Mr. Olympia, Big Ramy. Like, do you see the difference? Like, it's just I know all credit to Big Ramy. Like obviously that's amazing what he's done, but I just don't like that look, and
It's
I
just
just think
unnatural looking, eh?
it's not possible, man. Like he's
Yeah.
probably one in a like he's probably the only one in the world that will ever look like that again. Like it's not possible. So then these people get their hopes up that they might look like that when he's a genetic freak to start out with anyway. But the insulin and the growth hormone, like I firmly believe they grow your intestines, so they do give you that distended gut look, which you'll see in most common bodybuilders these days. Um, yeah, man, there's just so many things you can use. Like, then you got your clenbuterols, which really strip you up, which you use for horses. So it's like a bronchiolitis, and it's basically just speeds up your heart rate. But yeah, man, pretty much used it all, to be honest.
Yeah, insulin's pretty bad. Isn't that what Rich Piano died from?
Yeah, well, obviously they don't have they can't say 100%,
Yeah.
but yeah, I reckon that was what it's from. And Dallas McCarver, same thing. Like they said, oh, he died in his sleep, but man, excessive gear use, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not, although I said at the start, you can do it in a safe manner. That's if you're using maybe just testosterone, and that's probably it, to be honest. But it's when you start to add different things and you do it for extended amounts of time. People say, because it's in the fitness related scene, they think they're healthy because they're doing it.
Mm.
Man, I can tell you right now, it's not fucking healthy.
No.
It's no different to any other drug.
Now, you said you
And
you
that's
took Deca. Did you get Deca Dick?
I did. I talked about it on my own podcast. It was absolutely terrible because I had a girlfriend at the time, and she was like, "Well, what's going on? Like, am I not hot enough for you? Like, this is straight up."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Fuck, like, no, like, you're amazing. Like, it's got nothing to do with you." And then I tried to explain it, and tried to explain like, no, it's actually due to the fact that I've shut down my natural, endocrine system, basically, that I can't actually get it up unless I use something like Viagra or Cialis. So yeah, man, honestly, it's it's a lot worse than people think. And I got a lot of mates who are still on it. I know people that are on it. I don't judge anyone, but I'm just giving my personal opinion, and I want to help people out there to say, if you could use it or you couldn't, I would love for you not to use it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's just been straight up.
It would have crushed your confidence, like not being able to get a fucking hard on.
Yeah, man, it was it virtually ended my relationship. And then yeah, it's more just like the depression side of things, you know what I mean?
Mm.
And obviously different people they're different with all this stuff. So, like anyone, like if you already have, for example, aggression before you take it, well, then you're going to get a lot of aggression when you take it. But if you don't have aggression, but then you take it, you might only get a little bit. So each person's different. And that's why you can't really, as much as like these people listen to coaches or they'll read up on the internet or what's best. And you really don't know until you trial it on yourself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean that because I've done stuff that top end coaches have said, or I've read, and, even doctors have said to do, but it completely screwed me around because everyone's body's different, everyone's hormones are different, and everyone reacts different to this stuff.
Mm. Yeah, I believe unless you're competing at a top level in bodybuilding, you shouldn't really take it.
100%, man. And that's what was going to lead to my next topic, is that I have never competed. So why do I need to take it? Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
I know why I did take it, because I obviously wanted to look the part, but I can do that naturally and look less aged, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
and maintain a longer life. So I don't doubt that one bit. If you were to do a competitive comp, not kind of mucking around, but you actually were trying to go for your pro card or something, yes, I would implement it into someone as long as it was in a health manner. They were getting their bloods done and that. But outside of that, you don't need it.
Exactly. And I guess I believe, I guess when you're 40 or something, they have the hormone replacement therapy. I think that's a time that you can use it there under a doctor's guidance.
Yeah, so that's what I mean in a safe manner. Like there's nothing really wrong with that. Um, for example, I know many dads that are on, a TRT dose of testosterone. So that in itself, but it's when you start using, but that's because that's a pharmaceutical drug, testosterone. It's more the stuff that you put in you that's not actually meant for humans, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, made
So,
from
like for
horses.
example, trenbolone, equipoise, clenbuterol, they're not meant for humans. They're meant for cattle. They're meant for horses. They're veterinary drugs. Do you know what I mean? So clearly, you're going to get some side effects. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where people go wrong. They don't really know a lot about it, to be honest.
No. And I guess
Yeah.
I'll touch on, like, I've played around in that scene as well. I
Yeah.
was I was young and dumb, and being naturally skinny and being told, "Oh, you're so skinny," I felt like I needed that kind of stuff to, be more accepted. And really,
Yeah.
I didn't need that shit, and I kind of regret going down that lane and experimenting with different things. But it is what it is at the end of the day.
Yeah. Man. And that's the thing. Like people say, do you regret it? I do because of some things that I lost out of it. But no, I don't regret it because I wouldn't be sitting here on your podcast right now talking about it or helping people's lives, or or even more, I'd probably be doing it right at this stage instead of my younger stage. Do you know what I
Mm.
mean?
Yeah.
So no, I don't regret it because I would regret it. Hang on, I'll rephrase that. I would regret it if I was still doing it, but because I've moved on from it and it's the past, no, I don't regret it.
Mm. And on that, what made you stop taking it?
A bunch of things, man, but mainly health first of all. So I did get my bloods done, and they were all over the shop. And then secondary was probably relationship or family, just seeing it kind of slowly tear it apart, like to the point where I would lose them if I was just going to stay on it.
So were you having like bad mood swings and like signs of aggression?
Oh man, everything. Like I just wasn't myself. I can clearly say that I was a whole different person, 2 to 3 years ago. Um, I just was, yeah, it's just really hard to explain. You know what I mean? I thought I was king shit. I didn't care about anyone. I was rude to people. I didn't want to help people. Yeah, it's just a whole different person, man.
Yeah, it has that effect on you, eh? Like you feel like you're untouchable.
Yeah, but really, now when I look at it, I, I feel now. I'm not saying this because I think I'm doing good now, but I'm a lot more untouchable now than when I was on. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? I feel like I'm actually helping people's lives. I'm doing well. I'm focusing on my business. Whereas then I just, man, how was I untouchable? Like I had a good physique, but big deal. I wasn't doing anything with my life.
Yeah, it just gives you like a false sense of security.
100%, man. It gives you a false sense. And that's what people kind of use it for. I reckon they use it to escape from reality.
Hmm. Exactly. Man.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong. Was there an incident where you were pulled over and charged for having it in your gym bag?
Yeah, 100%. And that, I think everyone's seen that, man. It's on Google. And that did take a big hit on me. But at the end of the day, I had it on me. I faced the consequences. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but in saying that, it was definitely outworded to what actually happened, if that makes sense. You know what journals are like when they, obviously had a profile behind me and they wanted to make a story out of it. Um, but to be honest, man, like it was no different to probably any one of your mates. Do you know what I mean? I just had I wasn't trafficking. So it was my personal use. I had literally a cycle on me, which most people would have. The fact I had it just in my gym bag as opposed to in my house and I got pulled over, it could happen to any single person if they're in the same position.
Yeah, exactly. But just because you had a bigger profile, they kind of blew it out of the water, didn't they?
Yeah, man. And then, they went, obviously, when it went to court and that, they tried to, all the cameramen were out the front. They tried to video it. I just didn't walk out. I had to wait for them to leave. And, then the GC Bulletin got on it and started writing articles. They're still writing articles. It's just a joke. And yeah, it just blew from one thing to another. And yeah, it doesn't worry me, man. Like I did actually lose a few sponsors back then. I was with some good supplement companies and that. So that kind of hit me on the head. But man, as with anything, anyone can change their life around. And I believe everyone deserves a second chance. And this is why I hate being judged for your past. Don't judge someone for their past if they've changed. But also, like, oh, I forget what I was going to say, but like, just don't, once people see you start changing, like obviously within the first month, say I changed from after the incident, people aren't people aren't just gonna be like, oh my god, he's amazing, he's changed. It takes time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's probably taken, a couple of years for majority of people to actually kind of see what I'm doing now and that I have changed. It takes time, you know what I mean? People need to build trust back and be like, okay, he has, maybe if another article popped up, a year later, they'll be like, there's no way he's changed. But nothing's popped up for at least 3 years. Like I haven't been involved in anything. You know what I mean? Like there's just, I'm a changed man. So, and I don't have to even sit here and try to lie about that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, you're doing great things now. And I guess what you've just said is kind of a good segue into when we get you on the next time, guess dive into what you're doing now. So
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to talk about that, man, because as we were talking just before we got on here, um, it's not necessarily about, it is about breaking out of your bad habit, which, like I talked about, I had some people on mine, but it's then once you break out of that, you could just fall back into the dogma, or you could just live a mediocre life. But it's actually then progressing forward and pushing your business or helping others, or do you know what I mean? Talking
yeah,
about it. That's what I find cool.
exactly, man. Well,
Um,
we'll keep this one short and sharp. I guess we covered what we wanted to talk about. Was there anything else you wanted to touch on around drugs?
um, Not really, man. I'm open to some more questions if you want to throw some at me. It's entirely up to you.
Um, that's probably all I had.
What was it like? Did you so you obviously went down the same route as me, did you? Or what was it like?
Okay, yeah, I'll tell my story
How
because
did you find your experience? Yeah.
I actually have not told this before. So
Oh, I like this.
this is the first time. Only some people close to me kind of know. So
Yeah.
I was about 16, right? And being a skinny kid and growing up playing rugby league, I guess the goal was, I want to play NRL, but all the coaches telling you, oh, you're so skinny, you're so skinny. And I was like, fuck, how am I going to put on weight? Like I struggle to fucking eat food. And
Yeah.
I was I was doing some research or something, and obviously on Google that can put you down a rabbit hole, and I ended up on some forum about steroids and shit. Um, yeah, decided to
Like we were saying before.
yeah, decided
Yeah.
to fucking buy some. Just started off with D-bol and stenazole.
By itself.
Yeah. Um,
No testosterone.
no, that's further down the track. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but you didn't use it with your
nah,
orals.
just straight orals.
Yeah, see that's what I was kind of saying. Like even that's like a massive beginner mistake.
Yeah.
Because that's so harsh on your liver, and it's literally just attacking you, suppressing you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's called being young and dumb, no education around it. You're just like looking for that quick fix, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, played around with that. I put on probably 10 kilos in like 6 months. Um,
Oh yeah.
wasn't so much muscle though. It was a bit of water weight and a bit of blubber. So I was a bit chunky. Got off that and then decided to step it up a bit and get testosterone. Played around with
Yeah.
that. Didn't do like extreme dosages. Probably I think the max I did was just 250 milligrams.
Yeah.
But yeah, played around with that. Didn't know what PCT was, so I jumped off, and within a few weeks, I was fucked. I couldn't get out of bed. I was dead. I was-
Really?
I don't know if have you experienced having like no test and feeling like utter
Yeah.
shit?
Yeah.
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 So
I had all that, but yeah. Just explain to people what it's like. So, because people, that's another thing. People they don't they just look at the high in it, but tell them about your low. Do you know what I mean? Like if you don't know what you're doing, it's actually terrible. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so I guess I kind of felt lightheaded like a lot of the time, and I couldn't function. I had no strength. I basically couldn't do anything. I just felt like so shit. And I actually got a tiny bit of gyno because obviously
Yeah.
hormone levels and that were fucked up. So it wasn't the best experience, that's for sure.
Did you have did you have the fatality issues like I did, or it didn't affect that?
Um, didn't really affect that. Like it just took ages for my testosterone to bounce back, and then once it did bounce back, I was I guess normal, but it did take a while for me to bounce back.
How long, roughly?
Oh, before I was probably feeling 100%. I don't know, maybe like 4 to 6 months.
Wow, that's crazy. And you didn't even use much. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's now you know what you mean, like when people actually really do abuse it, how long it could actually take to repair.
yeah, it can fuck your body so much, eh?
Yeah. So that's interesting, man. I'm glad you spoke about it because, it's just like another person out there that's, it's definitely very common to feel these things off it.
Yeah, and especially in teenagers and that, like you want to have muscles and that to attract the girls, or in my case, to do better in a sport. But yeah, it does really fuck you up if you do it wrong, like I did.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you speaking about that, man. And it's been really awesome talking on here. Like I think we got a great message out there. As you said, I'd love to come back on for another one.
Yeah, cool, man.
And just, we could even talk about the same topic, but how I've come out of it and what I'm doing now. We could do anything, man. But I'm definitely keen to keep talking and get you on mine and yeah, just keep helping one another.
Sounds good, man. I'll touch on
Yeah.
another thing. All right, so how I bought the gear was with Bitcoin, right? So one
Oh,
I do regret this is not leaving money in that account because I'd probably be rich today.
100%. How much has it exploded?
I know, fuck,
Yeah.
I'm fucking spewing.
Yeah. That's another thing I talk about a lot on my podcast. The other guy that I host it with, he does a lot of trading and Bitcoin and that. It's just crazy to hear how it's actually going right now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And who knows where it's
Um,
gonna go? Eh? It's kind of interesting.
yeah, and that's why I've always been a bit like iffy with it because as much as people are like, oh, if you put a bit of money in now, you're pretty much guaranteed to make some money. But I've seen it skyrocket and go the opposite way within a day. So it's too risky, man. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm. I got a bit of money
Um,
in it now, only a few $100 just to see like what it's actually gonna do. So I'm just interested to see.
yeah, awesome. No, and what's your just before we go, what's your whole plan out of this podcast? Where do you see it going, and what's your goals with it?
Man, so I guess how it all started was I'm naturally introverted, right? So I wanted to really jump out of my comfort zone and I guess learn how to fucking communicate with people. Um, so I've grown in confidence. I've had over 50 guests now or something like that. So I just want
Awesome.
to, this year is really focused on getting people on who've dealt with, mental health, drug addiction, more so, topics that have a stigma around them. So I want to get those stories out there and crush that stigma and get people talking about it because it's really important that we don't hold all that shit in. It's important to actually talk about these topics. So that's the whole goal of mine this year.
I like that, man. Very similar to mine. You just want to help people and spread the right message.
Exactly, man. And before we go, you want to give yours a quick little plug?
My podcast or
Yeah.
Instagram?
Oh, we'll give
Yeah,
you all your socials and podcast.
appreciate that, man. Yeah, so Instagram is at I am Jaxon Tippet, so all one word. I'm sure you'll leave it on the podcast.
Yeah,
And
well,
then podcast is I am me podcast. Yeah, it's a bit different, but it's like about just kind of speaking about yourself and just basically being you. You know what I mean? Because I feel like everyone's trying to be this figure they aren't, or they're trying to be like someone else. But at the end of the day, I just want you to be you. And if you got happiness in yourself, that's all that matters. So that's kind of where that came about. That's basically it, man. I'm not up to YouTube yet. Man, I reckon I'd be flattered if I had that. And yeah, just Instagram and my podcast. They're my two main things that I'm really focusing on. So yeah, I'd appreciate it if you took the time to listen to one or whatever it may be.
Yeah, for sure. And where are you actually looking to take the podcast? You said you'd happily do it for the rest of your life. So
Yeah, I
how
want to
big do you
grow
want
it,
to grow it?
man. Like sky's the limit with this. I actually I've been doing my affirmations and that, and I actually do see it going very far. I believe if you don't see it going far, it won't. So I'm a big believer in that type of stuff. Um, Man, I don't really like. Obviously, I'd want it very well known, like not Australia, worldwide. And I'd love to just be having. Obviously, I still want to get the messages out there, helping people, but to the point where I've got guests on there that are like everyone knows, like they're celebrities. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um, like big names, and it's just really got good engagement.
exactly, man. We'll both get there. It's just about fucking putting in the work, eh?
We will get there, man. Like I thoroughly believe it. I've seen yours. You know what I mean? A lot of thing with podcasts, man. I know a lot of people that do them. They're not consistent.
Mm.
So they might do a couple and then they'll die off. You got to be consistent in all areas, like even on your Instagram page,
Yeah,
obviously with the episodes, and obviously like with the guests. Like it's people don't see what goes into this, but like I take my hat off to you because I know what it's like even organizing guests on the weekly. Due to time differences, busy schedule. But not only that, then you got to go edit it all. You got to upload it. You got to get all the traction. Do you know what I mean?
yeah. It takes a lot of fucking
Like,
time.
yeah, because we both do it. I just know how much goes into it, and for everyone out there listening, like, yeah, just really respect, what Nick's doing because pumping out episode after episode of quality information, it is something that's not easy, or most people would be doing it.
Yeah, 100%, man. That's why. So last year I was pumping out like 2, 3 episodes a week, right? But I wasn't putting any content around that podcast because I didn't have
Yeah,
time. So I've taken a step back. I'm just doing one episode a week and I'm putting all content around that one episode and it's worked out way better.
yeah, literally, I've done the exact same, man. I was like, oh, I'll line up 3 guests for this week and I'll just pump them out, and then I didn't even hear anything from them because I didn't really advertise it. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
So only a certain number of people like listen to it. But then when you focus on one and you fully advertise it, even put some vocals up of the podcast, people like actually start listening to it and they're like, wow, this is good.
Yeah. Quality over
Yeah,
quantity, they say.
100%, man.
Anyways, man, I guess we'll wrap it up there for all the listeners. If you want to check out Jaxon, I'll put all these details below. Brother, thank you for coming on. We'll definitely chat more and stay connected. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Nick. I appreciate it and can't wait to listen.
Cheers, bro.
Cheers.